My brother needed a sister, so he transformed me. I never thought my life would change so drastically, least of all because of my own brother. My name is Jason, and I'm 17 years old. For most of my life, I've been just an average guy, neither too popular nor completely invisible, just existing in the background. But everything changed after our parents passed away 2 years ago. My older brother, Daniel, took on the impossible role of raising me. At just 23, he had to juggle work, bills, and the overwhelming pressure of keeping what was left of our family together. I could see the strain in his eyes, the exhaustion in his voice. He tried his best to be strong, but I knew the weight of responsibility was crushing him. Then one evening, he said something that shook me to my core. "Jason, what if you were meant to be my sister?" I stared at him, convinced I had misheard. "What?" His expression was serious, his voice calm but insistent. "Mom always wanted a daughter. She even called you her little girl once, remember? Maybe she saw something in you that we never did." The suggestion was absurd, insane. And yet, something in his words made my stomach twist. I need to know," Daniel continued. "Would you, just for a little while, try living as my sister?" I wanted to laugh, to tell him he was crazy. But the look in his eyes told me this wasn't a joke. This was real. And somehow, in that moment, I realized my answer would change everything. I sat there, stunned, as Daniel's words echoed in my head. Try living as a sister? He couldn't be serious. "That's ridiculous," I said, forcing a laugh, but it came out shaky. "You actually think I could, put on a dress and suddenly become a girl?" Daniel didn't laugh. "It's not about the clothes, Jason. It's about giving yourself a chance to see if this feels right." I shook my head, my heart pounding. "I'm not a girl. I never have been." He sighed, rubbing his temples like he was exhausted. "I know, and I wouldn't ask if I didn't think it was important. You've always been different, Jason. More sensitive, quieter. And I remember how happy you were playing dress-up with Mom when we were kids. It wasn't just a phase, was it?" I felt my stomach tighten. That was a memory I hadn't thought about in years. Mom smiling as she draped one of her scarves around my shoulders, painting my nails while she hummed a tune. I had been happy then, but that was just childhood innocence, right? I opened my mouth to argue, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, doubts started creeping in. Had I really left that part of me behind? Or had I just buried it? I glanced at Daniel, who was watching me carefully. He wasn't mocking me. He wasn't pushing me into this for his amusement. He truly believed what he was saying. But what if he was wrong? What if this was a mistake? "I don't know," I muttered. "This isn't something you just try, Dan. What if people find out?" "What if?" "Then they find out," he interrupted, his voice firm but gentle. "But this isn't about them. It's about you." I let out a shaky breath. My hands trembled as I rubbed my arms, suddenly feeling cold. Could I really do this? Part of me wanted to reject the idea outright, to hold onto the safe, familiar version of myself. But another part of me, small and terrified, whispered, "What if he's right?" And that thought scared me more than anything else. I barely slept that night. My mind kept looping through what Daniel had said, my emotions pulling me in two directions. One part of me wanted to reject the idea completely, laugh it off, pretend we never had that conversation. I could go back to my normal life, push these feelings down like I always had, and never think about them again. But the other part of me, the part one had spent years ignoring, refused to stay quiet. I found myself staring at my reflection in the bathroom mirror the next morning. My face looked the same, but for the first time, I wondered how much of that was me and how much of it was just expectation. What would I even look like if I tried this? Would I still see me in the mirror? The thought sent a nervous shiver down my spine. At school, I was completely distracted. I could barely focus in class, and I kept zoning out during lunch. My best friend, Olivia, nudged me after the third time I didn't respond to something she said. "Okay, spill. What's going on with you?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. My mouth went dry. I wanted to tell her. Maybe she'd understand. Maybe she'd help me figure out what I was supposed to do. But the words felt too big, too risky. "Nothing," Just tired, I mumbled. She gave me a knowing look. Jason, you're a terrible liar. I forced a weak smile, but I didn't say anything else. I wasn't ready. Not yet. By the time I got home, I felt like I was about to explode. I found Daniel in the living room, scrolling through his phone. Okay, I blurted out before I could stop myself. Let's say, hypothetically, I did this. Just hypothetically. Daniel looked up, and the small smile that formed on his lips told me he knew this wasn't hypothetical at all. I'd help you, he said simply. No pressure, no expectations. Just a chance to see how it feels. I exhaled shakily. And if I hate it, then we stop. No harm, no foul. I swallowed hard. My heart was pounding so fast it almost hurt. Could I really do this? Fine, I said before I could change my mind. But just once. Daniel nodded, but there was something in his expression, something almost knowing, that made my stomach flip. Just once, he agreed. But deep down, I think we both knew this was going to change everything. The next day felt like I was walking through a dream. Every little moment, every thought circled back to one thing. Was I really going to do this? It wasn't just about dressing up. It was about what it meant, about what it could awaken inside me, about what it might reveal. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone. My fingers hovered over the keyboard as I debated texting Daniel. I could still back out. I could say I wasn't ready, that I'd changed my mind. But would that really be true? I thought about Daniel, about the way he had smiled so gently, telling me there was no pressure, no expectations. And yet deep down, I wanted this. I couldn't deny it anymore. My heart pounded as I finally typed out 2 simple words. I'm in. The moment I hit send, my stomach twisted into knots. There was no taking it back now. Daniel's reply came almost instantly. Come to my room. Let's do this together. I swallowed hard, staring at the door. 1,000 thoughts ran through my mind. What if I looked ridiculous? What if I hated it? What if this changed how Daniel saw me? How I saw me? But there was only one way to find out. With a deep breath, I stood up and stepped forward. No more second-guessing. This was happening. Stepping into Daniel's room, I felt a strange mix of excitement and terror. The walls were lined with posters of K-pop idols, their flawless beauties staring down at me, as if challenging me to match their perfection. Daniel greeted me with a reassuring smile, motioning me toward his bed, where an array of clothes and makeup products were laid out like an artist's palette. Are you ready? He asked, his voice gentle. I hesitated, my fingers curling into my sleeves. Was I? But then I nodded. Yeah, I think so. Daniel handed me a soft pink sweater and a pleated skirt. My hands trembled as I took them. The fabric felt delicate, unfamiliar, yet oddly comforting. As I pulled off my hoodie and jeans, a strange vulnerability washed over me. When I slipped into the outfit, my heart pounded. The skirt's hem barely brushed my thighs, sending a shiver up my spine. It was the first time I had ever worn something so overtly feminine. Daniel stepped closer, adjusting the sweater's fit on my shoulders. His fingers were warm, careful. It suits you, he murmured. I swallowed hard. Really? He grinned. Wait until you see yourself. He led me to the vanity mirror. My breath caught. I still looked like me, but different. Softer. Somehow right. Daniel wasn't done yet. He sat me down, picking up a brush and running it through my hair. The slow, rhythmic strokes were soothing, almost hypnotic. Then came the makeup, foundation, blush, a touch of eyeliner. With every stroke, my reflection changed. My cheekbones became more defined, my lips fuller with a hint of gloss. The person staring back at me wasn't just an illusion. It was me. A warmth spread through my chest, a feeling I couldn't quite name. I had expected to feel ridiculous, exposed. But instead, I felt whole. Daniel's eyes softened as he took in my expression. You okay? I nodded, blinking away the sudden sting of tears. I don't know how to describe it. You don't have to, he said, squeezing my hand. Just feel it. And for the first time in my life, I let myself feel. The night air was cool against my bare legs as I stepped out of the house. My heart hammered in my chest, the sound echoing in my ears. Every part of me screamed to turn back, to hide, to retreat into the safety of my old self. But Daniel's hand was firm in mine, grounding me. "You're doing great," he whispered. The streetlights flickered overhead as we approached the cafe. I could see people through the large windows, laughing, chatting, completely unaware of the war raging inside me. My fingers tightened around Daniel's. What if they know? My voice was barely above a whisper. He turned to me, his eyes searching mine. "Know what?" I swallowed hard. "That I'm not really." "You are," he interrupted gently. "You've always been." His words struck something deep inside me, something raw and unspoken. Before I could respond, the cafe door swung open, and a familiar voice called out, "Hey, there you are." It was our cousin Olivia. Her eyes scanned over me, widening slightly before settling into something unreadable. My stomach dropped. This was it, the moment of truth. She tilted her head. "Wow, you look amazing." I blinked. What?" Olivia grinned. "I mean it. I almost didn't recognize you. But, like, in a good way." She leaned in conspiratorially. "You actually look happier." A breath I didn't realize I was holding escaped me. I had been bracing for a reaction, a question, maybe even rejection. But instead, she had seen me. Daniel squeezed my hand. "Told you." And that's when it hit me. This wasn't a disguise. It wasn't a joke or an act. I wasn't pretending to be someone else. I was just finally letting the world see me for who I really was. A slow smile spread across my face. For the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of being seen. The walk home felt different. Lighter. As if with every step, I was shedding years of fear and doubt. The streetlights cast a soft glow, and for the first time, I wasn't afraid of being seen. I wasn't hiding anymore. Daniel nudged me playfully. "You did it." I let out a breathless laugh. "Yeah, I did." And the craziest part? It felt right. I had spent so long trapped in uncertainty, convinced that stepping into this version of myself would mean losing everything. But instead, I had gained something I never thought possible: freedom. When we reached the front door, I hesitated. "Do you think? What now?" Daniel shrugged, his smile easy. "Now? You just keep being you." It sounded so simple, but maybe it was. The next morning, as I stood in front of the mirror, I didn't see someone pretending. I didn't see a costume or a disguise. I saw me. A version of myself I had been too scared to embrace, but now I couldn't imagine going back. Would everyone understand? Maybe not. Would there be challenges ahead? Definitely. But for the first time, that didn't terrify me. Because I wasn't walking this path alone. And no matter what happened next, I knew one thing for certain. I was ready. Thank you for joining us on another captivating journey through Zoe's stories. Remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a tale. Until next time, keep exploring, keep imagining, and keep believing in the magic of storytelling. See you in the next chapter.